How's it going, Dave from Comic Book Investments? So, it happened again. Another record is broken. This one is for Action Comics #1 in an 8.5. Not even the highest grade. There's actually a 9.0. Two 9.0s out there. This one is 8.5. So let's look at it. This was through Comic Connect. Vincent Zerulio. I don't know how to say his last name. I met him a bunch of times. He's really cool. He's definitely, of all the big comic auction houses there are like that, he's definitely like a collector himself. I'm sure most of these people all have collections, but he definitely feels like the most involved. Like, he does cosplay, he dresses up, like he's super into it. So he's pretty cool. I've talked to him. My dad did deals with him many years ago. I've done deals with him. Yeah, so cool guy. But yeah, they just sold an Action Comics #1 for $3.25 million in a private sale. And that is just crazy to me. I'm assuming, I believe that they bought this themselves. I'm thinking they have like a fund, or not even a fund, like a private collection called the Impossible Collection, and they have tons and tons of this stuff. Like, Vincent, this has so much stuff. It's them and a bunch of different investors and stuff and collectors, and they have, I believe they bought it for themselves. They probably curated the book, found the guy who wanted to sell it, and they said, we'll give you $3.25 million for it. This book, the same book, bought this book 3 years ago for $2 million. It's like a 60% return on your money in 3 years on this size too. It's just crazy. So yeah, another record is broken. $3.25 million, not even for the single highest grade. This is the second highest grade. I would say the 9.0s, because previously a 9.0 sold for, in 2014, sold for 3.2. So this beat it. I would say the 9.0 has to be worth then in the 4s, maybe the 5s of $1 million. Probably, yeah, somewhere in there. I mean, look how much this has gone up. It's gone up like 60% in 3 years. This was back in 2014. Yeah, so $4 or $5 million seems about right, depending, someone wants to shell out that kind of money for it. So yeah, it's just crazy how these things just keep going higher and higher and higher. And that's, I've said this before, if you look at the original Overstreet price guide, this book in a mint condition was $300. I mean, and that was 1970 when the price guide came out. So yeah, that's just kind of, this blows my mind. That's stuff like this keeps on going up. And it's interesting because someone like me or other people that have been in this industry for a long time, you get so used to seeing things at a certain price. Like, many times I remember seeing Hulk 181s, and I'd pick them up for like $300. And so when they come and they go to like $400 or $500, I'm like, it's not really worth it, because in my mind I'd always get them for $300. And then, I'd be checking the prices that they go for, and then it's like, okay, I have to up it. And then I'd up to $450. And then before you know it, I would start getting outbid, wouldn't get them, I was basically going in too cheap. And now I would kill to get a Hulk 181 for $300. It's just this weird mindset. The longer you're in the business, you just kind of remember. You have this emotional connection to remembering certain prices and what they're worth. And so to you, you're like, it's not worth that. It's not worth that. But it is. Someone just paid for it. And, I remember talking to this one guy, and he had an opportunity to buy, he said, a super high grade, this is before CGC, late 90s, early 2000s, an Action Comics #1 for 25 grand. And he was just like, yeah, I can't, I really want to, but then I would have to sell a bunch of my stuff or take out a mortgage on my home and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I just couldn't pull the trigger. I don't think it's really worth it. And I don't think, how high is it really going to go for a comic book? And that was like 20 years ago. And now look at it. I mean, he can't remember what grade it was, but he said it was a high grade. So even if it was a 6.0 or 7.0, you're looking at a couple million, possibly. So it's just like you have this connection of what you think it's worth, but the reality is it's not necessarily what you think it's worth, it's what other people think it's worth. So, and in this case, these people thought it was worth 3.25 million. Is it? No, it's technically just paper. So, but to someone it is. To this person or this group that bought it, it definitely is. And I think these prices just keep on going to go higher and higher and higher. And you'll see these record sales all the time, especially the way like inflation is going. Like we're definitely in hyperinflation. That's what, and the things that go up are assets. So like houses, collectibles like comics, cards, you know, all that stuff. It's just going really, really high. And the issue is that generally poor people don't have assets. It's the rich. So this is literally just the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. I mean, there's people like us that like benefit it because we're like kind of in that niche. But that's kind of like I always say on my channels, like you gotta invest because you can't control what's gonna happen. And then if people decide, the government decides to like have all this massive inflation by printing a bunch of money and all that kind of stuff, you can't do anything about it. But at least if you have these assets like a house, you know, collectibles, you know, other types of assets, you know, stocks, things like that, you will go up with them. So you won't get left in the dust. It's the people that get left in the dust, then all of a sudden, you know, it's like, how expensive has food been getting recently? It's been crazy, like way more expensive than like I said, I can remember back. So, and then the people that don't have anything, they just have to pay the higher prices. So, but yeah, I would love to have this book one day. That's kind of like a goal of mine, is to get one. Personally, I like Batman more, so I'd rather have a Detective 27, but I know the significance of an Action Number 1. That being said, I would just, if they were the same price, I would still take an Action Number 1. Just because of the significance of it, even though I like Batman more. But hopefully one day, that is the goal. I will have one in my possession. I almost pulled the trigger on a coverless copy of Action, I believe it was Action Number 1 or Detective 27 years ago, like 5, 6, I don't know, it's been so long, I can't remember. And it went for like 23 or 24,000, and I remember talking to my brother. I was like, "Oh yeah, we should do it. And I think we were the underbidder." And I was like, "But we could have had an Action Number 1. It was coverless. It might have been missing some pages. I can't remember. It's been so long. It was actually on Comic Link, but that would have been crazy. But I wouldn't have held it. I would have had to sell it to make more money to buy other things. So, but almost. That was my almost Action Number 1. I've seen them. I've held them. My dad used to have them. It was different back then. But yeah, so just a quick little video on what's going on in the market. All right, thanks.